Hi everybody, this is Susan with Pumpkin Hill Stampers. I have a stamp and show and tell for you today. I have another card project using the Waterfront stamp set. This lovely set with all these fun kind of watercolory images, but really can go with many themes. The other day I did one with palm trees. Today I've done one with a beach scene. Today I'm going to do mountains and trees like the forest. So let's go ahead and get started. And a fun thing we're going to do today is we're going to use the Stamparatus to put this project together. So let me bring in the Stamparatus. Now obviously I've made this card at least once. I've actually made it a couple of times. And I have my Stamparatus set up. Now some of you have said, but how do we set up our Stamparatus? Well, I'll try to walk you through how I did it for this project. It's really not that hard. But you kind of have to envision what you want your scene to be, and then you build it as you go. So, for example, I had in my mind that I wanted active edge stamping, so I decided that I might be stamping off onto my black foam, right? So I decided to put a piece of scrap paper, this is just copy paper, down on my mat so that if I had ink go over, I wouldn't be getting ink on my black mat that might transfer to future projects. So that's one idea. The next thing I did was I cut a piece of very vanilla to about the size I thought I would want it on my card. And I decided that this time, since I wanted to be able to have stamps that maybe went left to right for multiple stamping, I shouldn't stick it right in the corner of my Stamparatus. So I've put it out here in the center, and because I'm using this for a class, I wanted to mark my scrap mat for where everyone else should lay down, or me should lay down their next piece. So now remember, I warned you about these magnets, super strong, don't want to get them together because they clink, break, are really hard to get apart, but I'm putting one on each side, okay? All right, good. So the first thing I did was my mountain. So I'm going to pull my mountain off of my plate here, okay? And so what I did was I decided I wanted my mountain near the top, and I have to stamp within the magnet width here, right? So I could move my magnet down like this to help me with my placement, and that's not a problem. So there's it's where about I want my mountain to go. So I have put it stamp side down, and then I press my plate down to it, so that kind of adheres the stamp to the plate, and then I lift that up, okay? And so then I brought in I'm just doing soft suede for my mountains here. Brought in my soft suede. I'm going to move this up a little bit because I don't want that to pull up at all. And I just ink. Am I zoomed out enough? There. Ink my stamp, and then I stamp it down. Okay, and you just press. And let's say you don't press hard enough, you don't get a full ink, you just flip it down and press it again, because it's not going to change its position. As long as your cardstock stays put and you don't move your stamp, you can stamp it multiple times to get a darker ink on that. Now, I have two mountains peaks in my card. So what I did was I just pull this arm off, I scooch it down one, right? Repositioned it, check that I can stamp it without interfering with my magnet. I'm good to go. If I was, I could just scooch it around. Remember, try not to get them too close so they don't clink. Just ring that back up. Now you notice I'm getting some ink on my plate. You can wipe that off with a tissue or a paper towel. In the new catalog coming out, we're going to offer a chamois that will help you keep your surfaces clean. But even if you have ink there and you stamp it, it's not going to touch your paper, so it's not going to be transferred to your project. So as long as you don't get it all over your fingers and transfer it to your project, you're okay. But I always find it safer to wipe it up. Alright, so see? Two mountains. One and then two. Alright, the next thing I wanted to do was put some ink down between the mountains and where my water was going to go. So in this set, we have this long piece here. Okay, so again, I'm just going to reposition my magnet there a little bit. I'm just going to go ahead and place this down. Now, I'm looking over my photopolymer and I can see where it's going to line up, and I want it to overlap just a little bit. So I've got that one placed on, and again I just press it down to pick it up onto my board. Okay, now this time I'm going to stamp in crumb cake because I wanted it to be a little bit lighter. Okay, so I'm just going to add some crumb cake ink to that, and then I just stamp it down. Okay, so there's that. Now we're going to do the water. So I just take this arm off, turn it over, so I didn't move any of my stamps yet. I'm just moving my arms, my plates. So now I've got the big one I want to use for the water. So I position this one where I want it. Okay. I don't want to overlap that much, I move it down. Okay, and I just put that back on the plate. And I'm bringing in Dapper Denim, which I'm using as my base color and as my water here. I'm going to add some ink to that stamp, and then I just press that down. Okay, now look, I didn't get quite enough ink transferred there, so if you want to, you just flip it back down. You press on your stamp a little more and pick it back up. And if it was still too light, you could add more ink and do it again. So see, by not having to reposition it with the block, right, you're in the same position. As long as your paper doesn't move and you don't pull your stamp up, you're good to stamp again. Okay, so let's see, what do we have left? The trees and the words. Great, so I've got 2 plates, I've got 4 sides basically. So let's go ahead and we're going to take this one up, flip it over. Okay, so now I got to do my trees. So because I've repositioned everything, I have to reposition these 2. So I'm going to put one set of trees here. Now, got to get my magnet there to hold my paper in place. So as long as it's not going to interfere with my trees, it'll be okay. So push that down, press it onto the plate. I'm going to come in with my Emerald Envy, which is one of our retiring ink colors. Okay, ink that up, stamp that down. And now I want another set of trees over here. So I'm going to pick up my plate out of its arm. I'm going to move it down. Now that's going to be too far, so I'll move it down just 2 notches. I moved it down. It's going to go right there, but do I want it a little bit more? So this is where deciding where you really want trees. I don't want to move my stamp because I want it to line up here again, right? But maybe I want it a little farther down. So let's move our magnet and let's see what happens if we move our arm down one more. Well, that's a little too far over. So now I'm stuck. I can't do it in the middle. The only thing I could do would be move my paper, which I'm not going to recommend at this point. But you could just slide your paper to position it where you want it. I'm just going to go ahead and stick it right there because I just remembered I'm actually adding my words down here, so I actually want it right in there. Okay, so let's go ahead and do our Emerald Envy. Ink up our trees again. Stamp that down. Okay, so now, okay, I've used both of my arms, both sides, right? I got to get my words in here. So I'm going to reposition my magnets. So I'm going to get my words in here. Now, the first time I made this card, sorry, everything's shifting. First time I made this card, I stamped it in the Dapper Denim, but it kind of got lost in these dark colors. So I switched over to a Memento black. Now, from the set, I have 2 word sets. So I position them, decided to do one on each side. You can see through these, so you make sure that they're the right way, not upside down. You can put them, position them in the card where you want them. Okay, but now if I do this, it's going to interfere with this. And if I do this one, it's going to interfere with that. So watch what I did. I'm going to pick up this arm. I'm going to turn it. Why did I do that? No, I'm not. I'm going to take this arm out. That's what I did. Okay, and I'm going to pick up this arm and I'm going to rotate it to this side. Okay, so you see what I did? I took this one that was up here, so my images are here to stamp. I took it over to this side, put it in. Now, yeah, I have a stamp there, and I have a stamp here. This one's going to interfere, so let's try it on the other side. So here, this stamp is clear of that. This one is on this side, but when I put that down and attach those stamps, it doesn't matter that I have a stamp on the other side. So I didn't have to take anything off, I just had to find a clear section to use. So I moved one plate to the other side and it gave me more space to add more stamps. So, alright, so I've inked that up with black. I'm just going to flip that over, press that down, try to keep my finger off of that stamp so I don't transfer ink, and voila, it's all stamped. So, I hope that made sense. Okay. So now it doesn't matter which stamp you stamp first. I am going to switch these back because they do need to be in those positions for the first 4 stamps. Okay. But now it's all set up to do another card. So you could do multiple cards, or like I'm going to do it with make multiple cards at a workshop I'm doing. And you don't have to worry about repositioning cards or people having a hard time positioning their images together, right? They're going to get your image the way you designed it without any trouble. Alright, so now let's go ahead and do the rest of this card. So something else I did this last month, I think, on a card. I'm using an embossing folder. This one is wood plank. Using an embossing folder as a stamp. So I have a piece of scrap in here. Okay, I'm going to ink this up with the crumb cake. No, I'm going to ink this up with the early espresso and I'm going to stamp on crumb cake. Okay, so I just lightly press my ink. Oh, there are my doggies. Press my ink to my inside of my embossing folder. That's what it's called, embossing folder. I have a piece of scrap in here just so we don't transfer ink to the other side, but it doesn't really matter. I'm trying to do that just in case it doesn't come out the way I want it. I have a second side to use. But in the end, I'll just take the whole folder to the sink and wash it clean. Now what I do is I'm just pressing like a stamp, but you have to use a little more force, just pressing the texture design of the plate to the cardstock. So I'm not running it through my Big Shot, I'm not impressing it, I'm just using it as a stamp to get that look. So can you see? Can you see how I've transferred the wood grain over? So yet another way to use your embossing folders. Okay, let's put this together because we're just about done. So I'm keeping this one simple. I'm not adding a lot of ribbon or embellishments or any kind of popped up dots. I'm just putting it all down flat. I think there's an awful lot of detail in this image. That's really all the card needs. I am mounting on Dapper Denim, which is a retiring ink color, along with that Emerald Envy that I used for the trees. So 2 colors that if you want to continue stamping with them for a while, you may want to get them before they sell out. And don't forget to get re-inkers. Keep your stamp pads useful for as long as you have that paper. And then I'm just lining this with a vanilla and we are done. So yes, the Stamparatus took a little bit of time to set up and position, but like I said, now I can make multiple cards. This actually might become a swap card that I have due for May. So though you busy bees, this might be what you get in our swap. I haven't decided yet, but you might because it's all set up now. And I can shoot off a whole bunch of these, or if you wanted to set up a birthday card and use it for multiple birthdays throughout the year, you're good to go. You can make up multiples. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope the way I set up the Stamparatus made sense to you. If not, email me. I'm happy to try to give you some hints and pointers, or I can do another video on that. I'm sure I'll do another video on how to set up the Stamparatus as we all start playing with it more and finding new useful ways to use it. So I hope you enjoyed today's show and tell. I hope you're enjoying the Waterfront set. As always, you can subscribe here so you don't miss any of my Stampin' Show and Tell videos that I try to do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you want more details on this project or other projects I do, I put them on my Show and Tell newsletter, which comes out on Tuesday. The link is below. You can subscribe to that and stay in the know. And then also, if you purchase with me, you are entered into our Card Candy Challenge. That's my little thank you every month for people who purchase with me. And you can also use my hostess code to be entered into the hostess drawing at the end of the month. So all those details are on my newsletter, and those links are below. So I'd love to hear from you. Join my newsletter. Come have some stampin' fun with me, and I'd be very grateful to all of you. So have some stamping fun today and enjoy your projects. Bye-bye.